Hello, everyone. You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Thomas I. Likeness, broadcasting from our studio in Edmonton, Canada. In the news, we have updates from several of our correspondents from across North America. Arlene Ocampo in Fort Washington, Maryland.
Early in-person voting in Maryland commences today.
Mayanne Manzano-Garzon in Sicklerville, New Jersey.
Vaccination plan.
Emerson Simon reports from Sylmar, California.
Mobile app allows California voters to track vote ballots.
Nicole Padilla in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, will tell us how the state is advising people to prepare for Tropical Storm Zeta. From Canada, April Masong will tell us about a public works program in the province of Ontario. And Bobby Soriano in New York City brings us news from the business desk. And Eagle correspondent Joanne Soriano will take us to the vessel at the Hudson Yards in New York City. Oh, our virtual roundtable, we'll try to shoehorn that in. What musical instrument would you like to play? Well, we'll find out what our correspondents will answer to that question. Our coverage begins now. First, an overview of how COVID-19 looks now. According to the Corona Resource Center of Johns University in Medicine, as of 6 Eastern Time today, the number of cases of COVID-19 reported worldwide is nearly 43,300,000. These are the top 3 countries with reported positive cases. The United States, more than 8.6 million. India, more than 7.9 million. Brazil reports more than 5.3 million cases of coronavirus. Sadly, 1,157,000 people worldwide have succumbed to this virus. The top 3 countries with reported COVID-19 related deaths: the United States, where more than 250,000 Americans have died of COVID-19. Brazil has more than 157,000 COVID-19 deaths, and in India, more than 119,000 people have died from the virus. The head of the World Health Organization warns that abandoning efforts to control the coronavirus pandemic is dangerous, and he says countries should not give up. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus made the comment today, just one day after U.S. President Donald Trump's chief of staff, Mike Meadows, said the administration's focus had moved from mitigation instead of stamping out the virus. Tedros acknowledges pandemic fatigue, has set in.
Is real. But we cannot give up. We must not give up. Leaders must balance the disruption to lives and livelihoods with the need to protect health workers and health systems as intensive care fills up.
Trump aide Mark Meadows told CNN yesterday the U.S. is not going to control the pandemic, but instead focus on vaccines, therapeutics, and other mitigations. And Meadows compared the more deadly COVID-19 to the seasonal flu. Election day in the United States, just 8 days away. President Donald Trump, former President Joe Biden, both on the campaign trail today. Trump barnstormed Pennsylvania with 3 back-to-back rallies. Now, Pennsylvania is a swing state. He almost certainly has to win that to get reelected. He told large, enthusiastic crowds of supporters to ignore the polls that show him lagging behind in Pennsylvania and across other battleground states.
You believe that 8 days from now we're going to win the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and we are going to win 4 more great years in the White House.
Trump's message largely ignored the COVID-19 crisis, despite a new surge in infections nationwide. Instead, the president focused on what he said would be a strong economic comeback. He repeatedly insulted Biden, whom he called sleepy and unable to cope with foreign leaders who are, in Trump's words, 100% sharp. Trump delivered his stock litany of exaggerations about what life would look like under a Democrat presidency. These are his words. You will have a depression, the likes of which we have never seen outside, perhaps, 1929. Trump also predicted Americans would no longer have air conditioning and that the Democrats would ban cows. Meanwhile, Biden began the day in his hometown of Delaware. Now, Biden has been conducting a very low-key campaign. That contrasts with Trump, who now has 2 to 3 rallies a day and plans to ramp up to at least 5 in the final sprint. Biden argues that he's sticking to medical guidelines on not spreading the virus during the pandemic. With a steady lead in the polls, Biden also apparently believes that anger over Trump's coronavirus management is powering him to a win, whatever he does or doesn't do. Biden tweeted today, "No president whose lies and failures have cost 225,000 American lives should keep his job." The Republican-controlled Senate has confirmed the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. Tonight's confirmation will tilt the High Court to the right for potentially decades to come. This is a historic victory for American conservatives. Her lifelong appointment will make her the 6th conservative member and the 3rd Trump appointee on the 9-member bench.
Defend our God-given freedoms. I nominated Amy Coney Barrett. Right? She's going to be great. She's going to be great. She's going to be there for a long time. Going to be there for a long time. And they vote on her today, tonight, today.
But it remains to be seen whether this can be much of a game changer for the Republican president. The Supreme Court just doesn't rank very high on the list of most people's concerns. Some 60,000 people had to flee their homes near Los Angeles today as a wildfire raged through the region. The so-called Silverado fire erupted early in the morning in the foothills of Irvine, about 37 miles southeast of Los Angeles, and spread quickly, fueled by dry, windy conditions. The National Weather Service warns the combination of low humidity, dry vegetation, and strong winds have created the most dangerous fire weather conditions this year. It says the region will remain under a red flag warning through tomorrow evening. The Silverado fire is burning as California and much of the U.S. West is under a major fire risk because of dry conditions and strong seasonal winds. More than 4 million acres have been devoured by flames this season in California alone, and 31 people have died in those fires. Up next, we have reports from Fort Washington, Maryland, Sicklerville, New Jersey, and Sylmar, California. Eagle News America continues.
Hello there. Imagine Demi got the virus, and she infected 2 more. And those 2 infected a lot more of people. And it goes on and on until it became an epidemic. But what if Demi stayed at home? Then those 2 wouldn't have contracted the virus. Then those people would have not been infected. This is not just your battle, it's everyone's, and you can be a huge help. Follow social distancing, or better yet, stay at home.
Kumanta, sumaya tayong lahat. Saya-saya.
The search for the best continues. Tagisan ng Galing Part 2 is now accepting audition entries. Kung ikaw ay 21 to 59 years old at may angking galing sa pagsayaw, mapasolo, duo o grupo man, magpadala na ng audition entry. Narito ang mga guidelines. Para makapagpasa ng entry sa dancing category, contact Shing at 0995-880-8004. Ito na ang pagkakataon mo para maging tagisan ng galing grand winner at manalo ng 2 million pesos. Para sa karagdagang impormasyon, i-like ang Tagisan ng Galing Facebook page. Kaya sali na!
You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Thomas I. Likeness. While we wait for a vaccine to be developed for COVID-19, the state of New Jersey has announced plans on how to immunize people when it becomes available. Joining us now, Eagle News correspondent Mayan Manzano-Garzon, who has details of this plan. Thanks for joining us this evening, Mayan.
Hi, Thomas, and thank you. State officials announced Monday during coronavirus briefing that New Jersey will aim to have 70% of its adult population vaccinated within 6 months once a COVID-19 vaccine is approved and available. Governor Murphy said the state submitted its vaccination plan to the Federal Centers for Disease Control on October 16 and emphasized that this is a work in progress and it could change. But he also stressed that New Jersey will be prepared once a vaccine is to be distributed. Take a look.
10 days ago, on October 16th, the Department of Health submitted to the CDC, that was a week ago Friday, the state's first draft COVID-19 state vaccination plan. However, this is not a plan that was thrown together quickly, as some vaccines have entered their final testing phase. Indeed, it is the product of months of collaboration among clearly the Department of Office of Emergency Management, other state agencies represented from state and local health departments, and certainly the Department of Health. We began our first discussion on how to ensure an equitable and workable vaccination plan, distribution, that includes distribution, allocation, vaccination, monitoring, at a time when the pandemic was ravaging our state. And one of our main focuses was to have the PPE stockpile and testing capacity we would need to fight this virus. In March of this year, Judy first convened the New Jersey Department of Health COVID-19 Professional Advisory Committee, which has been offering expert guidance on several crucial issues, such as allocation of scarce resources. And in April, the department began its planning for the distribution of potential vaccines that were in early phases of development. When those first thoughts about our vaccination plan were being formulated back in March, we knew that a COVID-19 vaccine was going to be an important preventative measure to help bring the pandemic under control. But with the knowledge the vaccines would not be available for some time and the immediacy of the crisis in the state, developing a vaccination plan was lower on our priority list. We were just frankly trying to get through the day. But we knew that while we were tackling the pandemic in the short term, we had to look long term to create a stronger, fairer, and more resilient post-COVID New Jersey. This planning process kicked into higher gear in July as the vaccine task force, comprised of a panel of state experts, began its broader work alongside the state's coronavirus task force and other state vaccination experts, and with the CDC and the Federal Department of Health and Human Services. The goal was to focus on the hurdles and challenges that would await any viable vaccine: logistics and distribution, prioritization, vaccination, public outreach, and confidence building, among many other issues. Lessons learned from our childhood immunization programs, as well as the vaccine response to the 2009 H1N1 flu pandemic, were also brought to bear. Now, even though...
According to State Health Commissioner Judith Percy Kelly, to reach the goal of 70% population vaccinated in 6 months, about 81,000 residents of the Garden State would have to be vaccinated a day for 5 days a week. By comparison, about 50% of New Jersey's population receives the flu vaccine, and a little over 70% of those are children. Percy Kelly said. A coronavirus vaccine is not expected to be mandatory, officials said, but Governor Phil Murphy stressed, quote, "We've got to make sure vaccine compliance is high." Governor Murphy also added that challenge will be to eliminate anti-vaccine noise, such as online rumors and social media-driven conspiracy theories, to convince people that the vaccine will be safe. The challenge, Governor Murphy said, will be to cut through anti-vaccine noise, to convince people that the vaccine will be safe, to build statewide immunity against the virus. He also emphasized that New Jersey will not simply rush forward on a vaccine and will instead be methodical and deliberate to make sure it's safe. According to a report of NJ.com, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the White House's top infectious disease expert, told BBC on Sunday that experts will know by early December whether a potential vaccine is safe and effective, but it likely won't be available in widespread fashion until next year. Health Commissioner Percy Kelly said that the federal government will likely make limited quantities of the vaccine available at first, and it's then up to the state to determine who gets it. Officials said one goal is making sure the vaccine is given out equitably, regardless of race or social status. Meanwhile, here is today's statistical report of New Jersey's COVID-19 cases. According to the Department of Health of New Jersey, we have 1,223 new positive cases, bringing a cumulative total to 229,684 New Jerseyans tested positive. Sadly, we have 7 new confirmed COVID-19 deaths, pushing the total to 14,503 lives lost. New Jersey remains on stage 2 of its road to recovery. And Thomas, for some weather update, it's currently 9:52 in the evening here in New Jersey, and it's currently cloudy. It is 59 degrees Fahrenheit or 15 degrees Celsius. The high today was forecast as 67 degrees Fahrenheit or 20 degrees Celsius. In Sicklerville, New Jersey, Mayan Manzano Gerzon, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Thomas.
And a vaccine certainly can't come fast enough. Now, if and when New Jersey gets some in December, who will be on the priority list to receive it?
Good question, Thomas. Well, as mentioned in the report, it will be up to the state, and according to the New Jersey's plan, the first batches likely are reserved for healthcare workers who have potential exposure to the virus and those who are at higher risk. And this includes, Thomas, those who are 65 and older, those with pre-existing medical conditions, people who live in group settings such as prisons and psychiatric hospitals, and essential workers who can practice social distancing. Thomas?
Thank you, Mayan. And while we wait for that protection, stay safe and take care.
Thank you, Thomas. You too.
California voters can download an app now that allows them to track ballots. Eagle News correspondent Emerson Simon tells us how that works. Thanks for joining us this evening, Emerson. What's this app all about?
Thank you, Thomas. With the current election only days away, many Angelenos are making their way to the nearest official ballot drop box or the closest voting center locations. Due to the current pandemic and physical distancing requirements, many people have expressed their concerns for the need to shift from their normal in-person voting to utilizing official drop boxes. For the first time ever, Californian voters are now able to track their voter ballot through the Where's My Ballot applications. These applications allow voters to remain updated on the location and status of their ballot via text, voice calls, or email. According to Neil Kelly, Orange County Registrar of Voters, this gives added confidence, I think, to voters to understand and see where their ballot is in the process and to have assurance it was counted. According to the California Secretary of State, more than 2 million Californians have already signed up to track their ballot, and there is still time to do so. To sign up for ballot tracking, voters are encouraged to download the application or visit www.where'smyballot.sos.ca.gov. Once signed up, voters will receive notifications when their county election office has received and counted their ballot. These applications also allow voters to receive notices if there are any issues or missing signatures for the ballot. The purpose of this application is to provide transparency, accountability, and voter confidence that their mail-in ballot is counted for this election. As of today, on this third day of early voting, a total of 7,152,353 California residents have already submitted their vote by mail ballots. This helps lessen the number of people that will come to vote centers in person from now until November 3 to cast their ballots. In Selma, California, Emerson Simon, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Thomas.
Thanks, Emerson. That almost sounds like when I shop online, I can track the package, see whether it's been shipped, whether it's been delivered, all that sort of thing. But does a voter have to provide personal or confidential information to sign up for this app?
No, Thomas. Only your full name, date of birth, and zip code. Your social security number and driver's license number are not required. Thomas.
Sounds like a good deal, and then maybe dispel some of those rumors that there's lots of hanky-panky or the election is rigged or mail-in balloting just doesn't work. Still to come, we've got correspondents bringing you stories from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and Toronto, Canada. And we'll hear from Bobby Soriano, who's at the Eagle News business desk in New York City. This is Eagle News America.
Tissue boxes mo. Hindi mo ba alam, mauubos daw ang mga tissue products? Bakit naman? Ang raw materials daw ng mask at tissue products ay iisa lang. Saan naman galing ang balitang yan? Ay basta, narinig ko lang din. Maraming din kayang nagpo-post sa Facebook at Twitter, kaya kung ako sa'yo, pumuha ka na din. Sige na't mauna na ako sa'yo
Huwag basta-basta magpaniwala
sa mga nakikita
o nababasa sa social media.
Magsaliksik at i-verify ang lahat ng impormasyon
na kukuha sa internet.
Tandaan,
maging responsable tayo
sa paggamit ng social media
nang hindi magdulot ng panic sa iba.
Kung paanong dapat labanan ng COVID-19
ay gayon din ang ating pagsugpo
sa black propaganda
at maling impormasyon.
Dennis Lu,
Lou Omelda,
General Partosa,
Tyranel Pililu,
Hannibal Arevalo,
EBC,
Japan, Euro. We live in interesting times.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business every Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. Open for Business, from vision to action.
You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Thomas I. Likeness. Keep your eye on the sky. That's the watchword for people living in Louisiana as Tropical Storm Zeta moves into the Gulf of Mexico. Eagle News storm watcher Nicole Padilla updates us on how residents of the state are preparing for a possible hurricane.
Thank you, Thomas, and hello from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. On Sunday, October 25, Governor John Bel Edwards urged all Louisiana residents to monitor Tropical Storm Zeta as it moves into the Gulf of Mexico over the next few days. Although it is too early to know the exact path of Zeta, the current predicted track does include southeast Louisiana. Additionally, the forecast predicts that Zeta will become a hurricane before landfall. Here is the latest updates from the National Hurricane Center. As of Monday, October 26th, Tropical Storm Zeta is expected to move into the southern Gulf of Mexico on Tuesday and reach the central Gulf of Mexico by late Tuesday. Maximum sustained winds are near 70 miles per hour. The Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness has activated its crisis action team and is monitoring the forecast. Governor Edwards said, "It is unfortunate we face another tropical threat this late in a very active season. We must roll up our sleeves like we always do and prepare for a potential impact to Louisiana. This storm is expected to make landfall somewhere on the Gulf Coast by midweek, meaning we have a few days to prepare." As we've seen this hurricane season, a tropical threat during the ongoing COVID-19 emergency is challenging, but something we can handle. We will once again find solutions for this potential threat while we work to help the other areas of the state impacted by hurricanes Laura and Delta. If Tropical Storm Zeta does become a serious threat, we stand ready to ramp up our actions as a state to meet the needs of our people and communities. The Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness urges everyone to stay weather aware by closely monitoring the tropical storm. More tips on weather preparedness on the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness Facebook and Twitter accounts. Download the Alert FM app in order to receive emergency updates. Go to www.getupgameplan.org for more information. Stay safe, Louisianans. I hope you are doing well there in Canada, Thomas. In Baton Rouge, Louisiana, I'm Nicole Padilla, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
What's happening on the business beat today? China has sanctioned American weapons manufacturers. Dunkin' Brands is in talks to be sold, and Facebook expanding its gaming service. With the details, Eagle business correspondent Bobby Soriano.
Good evening. Markets have closed, and here are your latest business headlines. China has announced sanctions against U.S. weapons manufacturers after a proposed deal to sell arms to Taiwan, which China considers as its territory. The Chinese Foreign Ministry said through a spokesperson that the sanctions would target the primary entities involved in the $1.8 billion deal, namely Lockheed Martin, Boeing, and Raytheon. Representatives from Boeing and Lockheed note that their presence in China is already limited due to strict regulations regarding foreign military sales and the requirement by China's government to approve any major business deals. The move by China represents another ramp-up in tensions with the United States, which are already high due to trade arguments, technological competition, and the rhetoric behind the COVID pandemic. Dunkin' Brands Group is in talks to be acquired by Inspire Brands Incorporated. Inspire Brands, the parent company of other well-known chains such as Arby's and Buffalo Wild Wings, is hoping to acquire Dunkin' as the company continues to struggle with sales due to the pandemic. Dunkin', which dropped the word donuts from its brand name in 2018 to represent its increased focus on other product offerings, is currently valued at over $7 billion with over 21,000 locations globally, even after an announcement in July that the company would be closing 800 stores throughout the U.S. due to low sales volumes before and during the pandemic. Facebook is in the news again, but this time as part of a new segment, the gaming industry. The company has announced plans to expand its free-to-play gaming platform to include more complex multiplayer games, as the gaming industry as a whole is beginning to see a shift into cloud-based video gaming, where games can be played without the need for the player to purchase expensive hardware. Facebook is attempting to enter a market long ruled by the likes of Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo in hopes that its centralized computing infrastructure can be leveraged as an advantage over the long-time dominant players of the gaming industry. The company is also doing so in a more cautious way, after rival cloud gaming platform Stadia by Google failed to make significant headwinds into the market last year. U.S. indices closed heavy in the red today as fears of a second global COVID wave have begun to worry investors. Reporting from New York, Bobby Soriano, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Still to come, Eagle News correspondent Joanne Soriano takes us on a tour of the Hudson Yards in New York City. And our roundtable discussion. Our correspondents will tell you what musical instrument they would like to play and what musical instrument they do play. You're watching Eagle News America.
Bye-bye! 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 Gustong-gusto ko yung fake news. Bakit di nila makukuha yung tamang sagot?
Bawal ang fake news. Bawal mali-mali.
Tonto ako sa fake news, hindi nila makuha yung tamang sagot.
Hip-hop queen!
Ang gusto ko yung PN's the key.
Kasi nakaka-relate din ako dyan. Yung misis ko madalas umorder eh.
Ang red ba? Ang confirmed or cancel?
Gusto rin namin magbigay ng pag-asa sa ating kapwa, lalo na sa panahon ngayon.
Ang gusto ko dyan, ayudawan, nakatulong na, nakakatawa pa.
Driver Grab, nag-deliver, driver Grab.
Ang gusto ko po dyan yung ayudawan kasi marami pong natutulungan ng tao.
Salamat po. Maraming salamat po unang-una po sa ama.
Maraming salamat po. Ikwento ko po ito sa aking mga anak.
Gusto ko sa happy time, maalis tayo. Tuwang-tawa kay KitKat.
Iyan o. Iyan o.
Kumusta po? Ito po si Wawi Di Guzman ang inyong lingkod. At samahan niyo po akong sumayaw at kumindak para po sa pinakamalaking talent search on Philippine television. Ito po ang part 2 ng Tagisan ng Galing. Dito lamang po sa Net 25. Kita-kit!
Events happen around us all the time. In our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
This is Eagle News America. I'm Thomas I. Likeness. Well, you know, I've never had the opportunity to visit the Big Apple. Tonight, Eagle News correspondent Joanne Soriano will take us along on a visit to the Vessel. And the Vessel is located in New York City.
Behind me is one of New York City's newest attractions. Come take a walk with me as we check out the Vessel. I made it to the top. Take a look. From the Vessel, you can get really great views of the city or of the water. I thought I would be really tired climbing all those stairs, but with all of the platforms, you get a chance to rest, take a breath, and just look around and just enjoy. If you ever get a chance to come to New York City, make sure you add the vessel to your list. In New York, Joanne Soriano, we live in interesting times.
I've got to go to New York one day. Soon as the pandemic's over, soon as I get the vaccine, my wife and I were going to fly to New York. Well, we're back at the virtual roundtable. Okay, everybody, let's social distance, and then we don't have to wear a mask. Social distance here. Today's topic, musical instruments. And we want to find out which ones you play. Which ones would you like to play? Let's begin with you, Arlene, over in Fort Washington, Maryland. Do you play a musical instrument at all?
Thanks, Tom. I used to play the piano back in my younger days.
Okay. How far did you get in piano?
I was, I believe, in 7th, 8th grade. It's been a long time.
if you'd have gone a couple more years, you'd have been really good at it. I quit at 7 years, and I should have hung on for another couple, and I would have actually probably been okay at it. But classical piano?
Yeah, I used to play different types of music. I actually still have my piano sitting here in the living room.
Do you play it?
I don't.
just a decorative piece of furniture?
Yeah, my youngest, he plays with it once in a while. Yeah.
Does he have an interest in music?
He does, but I'm not sure if he's been teaching himself how to play the piano on his own, so pretty good at it.
Now, if you were to take up another instrument, which one would it be?
Actually, there's two. The saxophone. The reason for the saxophone, I like music. I love different types of music, and just even the music with the saxophone, it's very soothing to me. It really relaxes me. And then the other one is the ukulele, and with that, because it kind of keeps me in a happy, cheery mood, if I must say.
And we could play that when we all gather in Hawaii for Alfred Asenas, our bureau chief over there in Honolulu.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, well, let's move on to Mayanne. Mayanne, what instruments do you play?
Well, Tom, unfortunately, I'm not very musically inclined, so I don't really play any instrument, but I've always wanted to learn how to play the violin. Well, that even now, when I see somebody playing the instrument, Thomas, I really get jealous. But I don't really...
The violin, it's such an unforgiving instrument. I mean, you've got to be dead on when you play that. It doesn't suffer amateurs gladly.
Right. I guess that's also the reason why I really didn't pursue learning the instrument. I don't know, Tom. I really don't have a good reason. It's just that it looks very elite, very classy, and very cultured to me that I really want to learn to play the instrument. That's the only reason I have.
From your answer, I've got to guess that you're a fan of classical music.
I do. I love orchestra.
Yeah, nothing like a symphony orchestra.
Right, I agree.
So you would like to be the concert violinist in a symphony orchestra?
Yes, please.
And you know, the concert violinist, he's the one that speaks to the conductor on behalf of the orchestra. Orchestra players are not allowed to talk to the
okay, now you're making me not want to learn the instrument. That sounds hard now.
Well, no. That just means you represent the orchestra to the conductor.
Right,
as
you're always
my wife says, I know more offbeat information. But yeah, violinist, great instrument. But again, very, very, very difficult. Emerson, what are your musical background? What is your musical background?
Well, I used to back when I was maybe 10, 10 years old, or like early in my teen years. I used to play classical piano. I started off with an instructor, and further as I grew and further, my interest became very thin, and I didn't have enough patience to go further.
How many years did you stay with it, Emerson?
I believe actually just a year, and then I kind of gave up because my dedication was very thin.
I take it you weren't a big classical music fan?
I actually am. It's just I don't put myself in that position. Although I would love to. It's just I have very little dedication.
Again, piano is it can be a bit of an unforgiving instrument. An electronic keyboard, a little more so. I know I sound better on a keyboard than I do on a piano, but yeah, it takes a lot of patience. Now,
it does.
If you were to take up an instrument, Emerson, what would it be?
I would actually like to learn just a guitar, just to start off with a few basic notes, and hopefully my patience grows with it, and hopefully I like to learn just like make original notes or melodies.
So you want to be a writer of music. Are you involved in any musical kind of activity now, Emerson?
Currently not.
What type of music do you like? What would you play on a guitar? I mean, there's just so many different genres.
I used to. They're like old 2000 songs. Some pop, some a little R&B, sometimes classical. Really depends on the mood. So it just depends on the day, time, and place.
You know, I feel really old when you say you want to play oldies from 2000. I mean, I listen to oldies, and I'm not talking about I listen to 50s and 60s. Arlene, you've got something to say.
How about you, Thomas? What instrument would you want to learn?
If I could, I'd like to learn the clarinet. I love the haunting sound of the clarinet. I don't know whether you ever heard of a jazz clarinetist by the name of Acker Bilk. He was from England originally. He played a song called Stranger on the Shore, probably the most romantic tune I've ever heard. That was back in the late 50s, early 60s. But the nice thing about the clarinet, if you can play the clarinet, the fingering's the same for the saxophone. The fingering's the same for an oboe. Now you probably, is everybody here familiar with an oboe? If you listen to music by the Carpenters, that woodwind instrument you hear in the background was an oboe. They used a lot of that in their instrumentation there. But you could play all three because the fingering is the same on them.
So if you learn to play the clarinet, you automatically learn how to play all three.
Yeah. Basically, the fingering is pretty much the same. It's sort of like if you play a piano, you can play a keyboard. An organ, a little bit more complicated because you've got a whole bunch of foot pedals there, and a whole bunch of stops to contend with. So an organ is very complex. That might be my second choice because I love the sound of an organ.
Do you have like musical inclination, Thomas, like in your genes, in your family? I'm just curious. I don't.
Yeah, probably. My father never pursued it. My mother played the piano, which in itself was very, very interesting because due to an industrial accident, she lost all of the fingers on her right hand at a very young age, in her early 20s. But she was able to adapt, and she did just, I never realized she was disabled until I was much, much older, because she just did everything, including playing the piano. And
wow, that's
actually
amazing.
pretty good. My sister plays.
Sorry, I like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So inspiring.
She lived to the ripe old age of months short of 93. But yeah, she was quite an inspiration. But
No, we don't have the reason not to learn these instruments now.
Maybe you'll take up the violin yet. So we talk about the type of music you like to play. Arlene, what type of music do you like to play?
If I could play?
If you could play, what type of music would you?
Yeah, same thing as Emerson. I like R&B. I like classical. Even jazz. I like a variety of music, and it also depends on the type of mood that I'm in or what kind of setting I'm in. You know, if I'm working numbers or something, I need something a little more, with a little more, how do I say it, hip hop kind of a beat. Yeah, so it all depends, but I love music all around.
Does anybody here compose music? Whether it be lyrics, whether it be the actual music itself. Arlene, do you write any music, or do you write any lyrics?
I probably did in my younger days. I used to write poetry too, but with that as well, you can turn that into music.
Exactly.
Yes. So
Emerson,
back in my younger days.
Emerson, did you ever write music or aspire to or write lyrics at all?
No, but I would love to. It's just I get stage fright a lot, so afraid to open up a lot.
You know, when you're out there playing for people, I don't know, those of you who have played in front of an audience or even for just friends, you're kind of bearing your soul out there. You're bearing your soul. And that's hard because, well, it's kind of like being on TV here or or being on the radio. I remember when I first got into this business, you're kind of bearing your soul and you kind of hold back at first. But it is, I love the creativity. I love the creativity. I did manage to do keyboards, a little bit of percussion. I'm a pretty crummy drummer. I don't think any band would have picked me up. Picked up other percussion instruments as well. But we've got to end this on a thankful note as we show our appreciation for our healthcare workers, our first responders, our essential workers, all of the folks out there on the front line. Let's salute them with a round of applause. We appreciate you. And that's today's Eagle News. Thank you for joining us. I'm Thomas I. Likeness, and we live in interesting times.